Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Sawagid's math class. I'm going to start my lesson today by showing you some of the drawings I had when I was your age. I used to love to draw birds, bells, bears, or even hearts. And I see this during my class from a lot of students. They love to draw better than doing the math. This takes us to something called sketching. Sketching means drawing, whether you're drawing a flower, hands, or face using shapes for the eyes, nose, and mouth, or even lines and arrows to sketch. And that takes us to today's lesson on how to sketch a graph or analyze a graph. Let's start with something easy to understand, like the difference between a rocket taking off or a car taking off. If I wanted to sketch the change in speed for a rocket in a car, first I need the coordinate plane, where X represents the time and the Y represents the speed. So what's happening to the speed of the rocket over time? Watch how the rocket starts slow, but then it takes off. Very fast, very sharp. So the increase in speed is at increasing rate, which means it curves up sharply, and that's called increasing rate, which means nonlinear. On the other hand, the car, I still need the coordinate plane where X is the time and the Y is the speed. So what's happening to the speed over time for the car? The car has a constant rate. So the increase in speed is at a constant rate, which means it's linear. So watch the difference between increasing rate when it curves or constant rate when it's linear. This chapter has too many vocabulary words, so let's discuss them one by one so you can sketch or analyze a graph. The first word is rapidly increasing. As an example, the word rapidly means very steep. Increasing means it goes up. Slowly decreasing, it means less steep and it goes down. Constant means same, which is zero steepness to it. Horizontal line, that means there's no change whatsoever. Another thing we need to discuss, something called rate of change, which we already talked about comparing the rocket with the car. The green line curves slowly, which means non-linear, so the word we use for that, decreasing rate. The blue line curves sharply, which means non-linear because it does curve, and since it's sharp, it's an increasing rate. And the last line, the line does not curve whatsoever, which means linear, and we use constant rate for it. So if you have a linear line, you use constant rate. If the line curves, you use increasing or decreasing rate depending on the steepness of that curve. Let's sketch this situation. Tesla car loses its charge at a constant rate until it has no charge left. Then you plug in the car to charge it fully. Sketch a graph that represents the situation. I am going to keep those words, the vocabulary words, for you to use. So clue number one is a constant rate. And watch how I need to use a straight line to represent a constant rate. So first of all, I need the first quadrant where X is the time and Y is the charge of the battery. Now, since it loses its charge, that means the line is going down because it decreases in charge. So the first line would go from fully charged all the way down to the x-axis because it has zero charge. And then it charges also at a constant rate. So I still need to use a line going up this time at the same rate, and you stop exactly where the full charge is. Now, here's an example to describe the relation between the two quantities, which means analyze the graph. I'm still keeping the vocabulary words to use. The first graph, we are comparing the temperature over time. The second graph, we're comparing the length of the hair over time. Since all the lines are linear, that means there's no curve in them, I will use the word constant rate right away. Now I need to know, is that line steep or less steep or zero steepness to it? So look at the first line going down. The temperature decreases rapidly at a constant rate. Then the temperature stays the same, which means constant over time. It does not change. And then it goes down, which means the temperature will decrease slowly because it's not as steep at a constant rate. Now, when it comes to the length of your hair over time, it's a little bit different. Why? Because it increases, your hair grows at a constant rate. So the length of the hair increases at a constant rate. But then what happens? I am going to show you what happened and why the lines are not connected. If you look at the hair, take a scissor and cut your hair. Is that instant? So the length of the hair will decrease instantly because once you cut it, it goes back to the first length and then it grows again. Cut it, it drops, and then you cut, it grows at a constant rate and so forth. Now let's analyze or describe the gas usage over time, but watch how I'm not using constant rate because the lines are not straight lines, they curve. Describe the change in the gas usage from March to May. Watch what's happening from March to May. Watch how the line curves down sharply. Because the line curves down sharply, the gas usage decreases at an increasing rate. So why did I use decreases and at an increasing rate? Because the word down means decreases and because sharply means increasing rate. Describe the change in the gas usage from May to July. So now from May to July, because the line curves up but slowly, it's not steep. So the gas usage increased at a decreasing rate. My clue is going up. That means the usage is increasing, but because it's slowly, it's not too sharp, that's called a decreasing rate. In conclusion for today's lesson, here's the vocabulary words. I know there's too many of them, but remember when it's linear, that means it has a constant rate of change. When it's nonlinear, that means it curves. So use the increasing rate or decreasing rate depending on how steep the curve is. Thank you everyone for watching my lesson about sketching and analyzing a graph. If you have any question, please write it in the comment below and I will be happy to answer it anytime.